Let's start with you. Let's talk about part of that report. The UNDP is actually calling for better global coordination in shoring up resilience to challenges that are increasing globally in origin and impacting on poverty. Now, how can this be achieved, particularly for how can Nigeria achieve this in particular? Because Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa at the moment. And so it is very interesting that we're in the forefront of this because we have to set the pace for others to follow.
Well, as the #1 African country, there are 3 P's that were mentioned in that report to this effect. #1 P is to prevent shocks. #2 is to promote capability. #3 is to protect our choices. Let me just break it down. The first one is to prevent shocks. See, examples are our financial institutions. They need to be there for us to help us to prevent shocks, insurance. Then we need to have disaster management agencies to prevent these things. We need to have awareness. You see, what just happened now is actually a disaster, quote and unquote, Ebola crisis. You see, we need our civil defense to be there for us. So we need those institutions. We need to build institutions, and we need to build norms, values within our society to prevent these shocks. #2, we need to promote capabilities. How do we promote capability? Education is fantastic. And when I'm talking about education, I'm not talking about school education alone. I'm talking about other education. He said something about the youth corps members. You see, that aspect of mentoring, being mentored by professionals, because that's what I believe they should be doing too. Maybe with their primary assignment, they should be attached to professionals. So that's the way you build, you promote capabilities. You see, we should have institutions that teach skills that go beyond speaking, that go beyond entertainment. Because what we have now, we have private initiatives. We need to have government involved in all of these capacity building institutions. We thank God we have some institutions here and there that are doing employability, but our employability programs, they need to go beyond just sitting down in class and teaching them what to answer when the telephone rings. We need to drill down to even bricklaying, that aspect. Then the third one, and which is very essential for Nigeria, we need to protect our choices, because we don't have problem with policies in Nigeria, but we have problems with when we say something here and we leave this room and everybody forgets what we say. And that's the problem we have. And in that place, it's there clearly that we need to protect our choices. If we say we are going to do this, and we need to do it to the letter, we need to be faithful with our words according to policy, because we have fantastic policies. Policies are not our problem in Nigeria, because we have people coming. Then again, I need to say this. In our Nigerian context, we need to tap into the brain of Nigeria in diaspora.
Absolutely.
We need to tap into that, because you have Nigerians that are doing, but if you need to do that, we need to make this place conducive for them. And that's one of the ways you can build human development.
So, Mike, I noticed you kind of agreed with what you were saying. But let's talk about something that the Minister of Trade and Investment, Olusegun Aganga, talked about. He said export is low because what we make here is not up to international standard. And that's one of the issues that was actually highlighted as well in this report, the fact that we're not as competitive, or our products and services are not competitive enough to put us on the global market. How can we begin to achieve that?
Well, again, in support of what my colleague just stated here, when we're talking about social infrastructure, you see, we're not being competitive. We lack exposure. The people that are meant to be putting us on the right track aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, if we can produce goods or services that can compete with international standards, whose fault is it? When we have a very depreciating, emancipating educational system, we don't have good social infrastructure in place. It's not just going to school. For you to have a sound mind, you need to look into, like what he said, erase poverty, education in there, social infrastructure, music. Thank God we have entertainment industry, which is actually kind of blossoming. The environment is making people feel a little bit happy. But that's not just all. Now, he mentioned something again, and I said, that's from the public, from the public domain. What's the government doing in support of all this.
But then again, you see, as much as possible, a lot of experts have talked about the fact that we're in the situation we're in right now because there's been so much attention on the government providing most of those things. The private sector should actually come in and begin to help or to run the economy the way it's supposed to be run.
Yeah.
The government should just be in the advisory or regulatory role, so to speak. Just give these policies and let the private sector do the rest.
Absolutely. Government has no business in doing business. Just to bring in the policies, and the private sector should obviously lay the foundation in building the economy. But when the policies that have been brought up by the government is not being implemented effectively, how does it work? How does it function? Now, look at our technical industry, technical schools and so on and so forth, where we supposed to, it's not just going to tertiary institutions like universities and polytechnic. Now, we have the technical side of our education in the economy that is actually just been disappearing day by the day. Now, in this country today, I can assure you, if you want to build a very good house and you want a tiler to lay proper tiles, you have to go to Cotonou or Togo to go and import a tiler. We don't have qualified plumbers, we don't have qualified painters, we don't have qualified tilers, and so on and so forth. What has gone wrong with our technical structure in this country? That is, I keep emphasizing on this. Now, if we need to build and produce commodities and goods and services to compete with international standard, we need to lay the foundation right. Many years ago, perhaps about 3 or 4 decades ago, everything, our educational system in here, our technical school in here, people fly in from abroad, from the West to come and study here. But now, where are they gone? So how are we going to be able to produce people, to produce standard quality goods and services to compete with international standard when the structure here has been derailed?
Okay, so going forward now, and in terms of the projection of the United Nations Development Program, making a case for sustaining human progress, Nigeria has made some form of progress, and definitely economically, socially, we will get there. Gradually, we're getting there. But how best? You've already mentioned it. Well, can we just summarize it so that it's like maybe in 2 sentences or 3? How best we can achieve this progress that we already have and not let it fall back? We can build on resilience on the vulnerabilities that have actually been highlighted and move forward.
I think within the sound mind, let the government begin to invest in, like I always keep mentioning, the social infrastructure. Look, how many recreation centers? Look at Lagos State, for example. They're doing the best they can. But if that could be replicated in another part of the country, we should have more recreation centers all about where people can go to, government funded. We have that. Look at other countries. I mean, for example, in the UK, every borough you go to, you have all this activity, all the centers there for people to go to. So even if you're not working, if you're not in school, you have an activity to actually go into. We don't have, look at languages as well. The word, now Nigeria is not a global village. We shouldn't be like learning about just English, obviously. Chinese, German. The government should begin to create all the center for us. So we could have a sound mind, so we could do something better and begin to produce something of quality standard to be able to compete with international standard. So the government involvement is actually critical in here to build our social structure.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, for sharing your thoughts with us. And Bisi, thank you also for coming on the program this morning. It's been a pleasure having both gentlemen here on the program with me. But that's today's edition for the program. We've been looking at the 2014 Human Development Index report by the UNDP and talking about some of the issues that were raised and the possible solutions as well. But that's the program, as I said. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Harriet Agbeni.